I was raised to be incredibly toxically codependent and have not zero, but very little autonomy in regards to like what I want, what I think, what I'm doing, all those kind of different things. And I've just recreated that over and over and over again in every relationship. Fast forward up into our relationship, and it's still very present. And so, like, I feel really stupid talking about it because it feels like you were saying earlier, right? You feel weak. I feel like a child, and an adult isn't codependent. An adult can go to the grocery store by themselves.
Can I speak to you feeling like a child?
Sure.
Like that, I think that's like a big part because you've had like a really big awareness of how you're recreating these dynamics. You're recreating your childhood dynamics. And like you're feeling like this right now. And for me, I'll speak with me, like I also create this dynamic, right? Mine was that very much that group think with the ruling parent of the house. And that person was incredibly like codependent, but that's not even like they were controlling everything, controlling their way, their thoughts, their actions, their rules, their belief. And the only time there was a breath is when they weren't around. And there was so much recovery at that space. So having to put on the facade that this is also how I feel, this is also how I like, because if that's how you kept it safe, or else it was violent. So I'm also recreating those dynamics, even though they're not to the extreme, but I know how to play my role. I know how to be like, yeah, we think this, and then becoming incredibly resentful that I don't get to have my thoughts, that I don't get to have my space, my action. And the fact that when I take a little bit of space, it causes you distress. And I'm like, that is so much fucking pressure. But I'm recreating that because I know how to do that. So this feeling like I'm in trouble, this feeling, this hardship is because now we're saying, hey, we don't want to play by that rule anymore, which means we're going against the parent because they're like, we're switching the parent figures on each other. So that's why we're feeling like a kid. We're feeling like we're in trouble because these dynamics are at play and we're saying, I don't like this. I don't want to do this. So what would happen when you were a kid and you were going against the parent? Like you get in trouble, and that trouble looks differently for everyone. So the fact that we're like, oh, scared, feeling like we're going to get in trouble, that we're going to lose love, that we're going to be punished is absolutely showing that this is coming from an inner child space and that we're working through that because we're having a childlike reaction. Does that kind of, does that resonate in a sense? It resonates for me, but I don't know if that resonates for you.
Yeah, it definitely does resonate. And like, that's the thing that I really struggled with too. Like you said, we were flipping like, this is also something that I'm aware of in the space of like psychology, psychiatry, therapy, all these kind of things where you'll recreate those patterns, but also you'll put your partner into the role of one of your parents. And
that makes me so sick.
Right?
Right.
It's so frustrating.
Right.
And heartbreaking. Yeah. And
that's like, I will never do that. What is happening?
And yet it happens subconsciously. I don't think I have awareness. I'm starting to have awareness of it. And I'm starting to do everything that I can to not do that. But it's very, very difficult and it's very hard because it's so subconscious and it's so ingrained. Like, it's even the simplest things of like, I will be sitting on the couch eating something and I will finish. And the next time you walk by, or rather than me just getting up and taking my plate and putting it away, I will hold on to that plate until you're able to take it from me and go put it away. That seems very simple on one hand, right? Where we're obviously living together and we're partners and we're, making this life together and everything like that. And there's sometimes that I do it for you as well, right? Like grabbing your plate and putting it in the sink. But there's also part of me that can see how I'm a little kid sitting there watching like Saturday morning cartoons, and my mom would come and clear my plate or take my, the bowl of cereal or whatever when I was finished with it. And so like, that's one way. And that's kind of like a simple example. There's lots of other ways that suck, that I'm not happy about. I'm also like the way that I will project. I'm constantly trying to catch that instead of speaking about we as this fucking group of.
I love that you're working on that, by the way.
We love it too.
It feels really good that you're working really hard on not only your independence in a sense, or interdependence, but I'm liking the fact that you're starting to recognize my own personality, my own wants and needs, and that I get to have something separate from you. And that feels really liberating. And I'm also working on that and removing myself in ways of I'm overloading it, but I'm also trying to find that balance, right? So I'm shooting that a little farther than it needs to go, but I'm going to balance out. It's just, I love that you're recognizing that and you're giving me my space, and you're like, I think we're doing I'm getting nervous now. I'm getting nervous. I meant to say this really short and it came out really long, and now I'm like, I've overtalked you. I've taken over the conversation, and I was just trying to sneak a little blurb in there just to thank you without really taking up too much space. Now I've taken all the space and I can't stop talking. Total panic moment.
We'll just sit and wait in silence for Stephanie to say more. What does it feel like for you when I shouldn't say what does it feel like, but I'm curious, are you catching ways that you are projecting me into that role of a parent?
Yeah, that's what I was just speaking about when I was talking about how we are doing that, and that's why we feel scared that we're going to get in trouble, that we're going to lose love. Because I'm very much, and it's weird because it's that is why am I doing that? Why am I doing that? And then there's another part of me that's why are you doing that? Why are you behaving that way? Why you're I wouldn't be projecting you in that role if you weren't behaving that way. And then I'm where's your accountability? You got to take responsibility here for the patterns that you're creating. And so I very much am doing that. And what I'm trying to do to mitigate that is taking responsibility for my actions instead of waiting for you to shift so that I can move. Because that's what it was before. I couldn't, the ruling parent had to allow the space. And if they didn't allow it and you tried to push, they would take it. They would, there was no chance. So there's still that part of me that's waiting and being resentful that you don't allow it, or being resentful that you weren't allowing it, as to where now I'm not participating that way. I'm taking my space. I'm taking my anonymity. I'm taking my individuality. I'm taking my wants, my needs. And sometimes I'm too exhausted. Sometimes it looks like just a break, to break away. So seeing how that is showing up and the way that I'm projecting that on you is taking control of the way I'm responding to that and allowing myself to see the ways that it's playing out differently.
We were meant to be. We were meant to be.